Hello and welcome back to the Course in Time. We are now on segment 6 and we're flying through the master framework, the time mastery framework. We are addressing the law that time loves structure. Last segment we talked about tools, and hopefully by now you have selected your tools. You've simplified what tools you're going to be using. You're starting to carry them with you and interact with them. Every single time you have an idea, it needs to go on in your idea tool, whatever that is, digital or pad or whatever you've got. When you know that you have to take action on something, you need to make sure that lands in your to-do list. And then, of course, the calendar is an essential tool. And we're going to be talking about the principle around planning, using the tools to plan. Now, you've heard this term before, but we're going to just call it out here. Failing to plan is planning to fail. And it really is a truth that we want to sometimes kind of keep ourselves, a term often used is fast and loose. We want to just be flexible, not have anything burdening us so that we can respond or jump or move or zig or zag. And that's a good idea, but it's not always productive, and it's not always you're not always going to be at your best. And so what we want to work toward here is a habit of planning our time so that it is working for us rather than pushing us. When you are planning, you're prepared. And when you're prepared, you're achieving. So there's a very specific formula or format that I have found and helped a lot of people discover that works extraordinarily well. And it's what I call bookends planning. You look at the day with bookends. In the evening is a bookend, and in the morning is a bookend. So the night before a day of productivity, which for us ambitious entrepreneurs is going to be every day, we want to, the night before, assess the things that we've completed and the achievements that we've accomplished, and take some time to acknowledge and celebrate that. You know, I find people often complaining about what seems like a glass ceiling when it comes to achievement, and I ask them simply, well, are you celebrating what you're achieving? And oftentimes the answer, in fact, most of the times the answer is, well, what do you mean? Or, no, I'm not. You see, I think, and this isn't a very scientific example here, but I believe that there's a little voice in our heads. And when we work hard to complete something and then move right on to another day of working hard to complete yet something else, sooner or later that little voice says, pal, nope, the last time we had something to do, or a big busy day, all we got was hard work and another day of the same. There was no reward in it. There was no celebration. And so sooner or later, your subconscious mind starts to create resistance in your own achievement. So how do you course correct that? Well, take the night before, assess what you completed during the day, and acknowledge and celebrate it. Then you want to take a look at your calendar and your commitments for the next day and just get your head around what you said you were going to do. Now, you may have to negotiate, and we're going to talk about negotiating in a lot of detail in another segment, but you may have to say, well, you know what, maybe that thing that I was going to do needs to be moved out a day, or it needs to be delayed to another time of the day. Then you want to take a look at your to-do list, and it should be prioritized by now. If you haven't yet started prioritizing your to-do list in terms of what's most important next, this would be a good time to do that. And then, you know, in your calendar, you're going to have appointments usually already booked in there, or certain things that maybe, for example, your exercise time or family time. There's going to be certain things that you've already blocked out, but then there's what is left over, what I like to refer to as white spaces. And that, my friend, is where your prioritized to-dos go. So you want to be looking at the day ahead, the night before, with your calendar full from the time that you wake up to the time that you plan to go to sleep. You want every single minute with something productive to do. Now, many of these will be intentions. Of course, there's going to be things that show up that you didn't predict or that you're surprised by. We'll talk about strategies for that later. But right now, you want to go to bed knowing what it is that you're going to be doing, what the day ahead is going to be presenting to you. Then when you get to the morning, when you wake up, you're fresh. First thing you're going to notice is that your mind has been working already on the things that you are going to do today. Because you did that review the night before and that planning, your feet are already moving before you're even out of bed, which is a wonderful thing. But then you're going to review again in the context of what your mind's been working on. You're going to review again what you have planned. And again, there may be a reason for you to shuffle or negotiate the things that you're going to do. Then, before you get off to your day, what I strongly recommend is that you ask yourself a simple question. If I don't get anything else done today, what is the most important one thing that will make today a productive success for me? Pick one thing. And you might tell me, oh gosh, there's never a day that comes along that I only have one thing to do. No, I want you to pick one thing and declare it as the most important thing. The power in this is that you'll find your way toward some very powerful momentum. When you achieve the most important thing, you put focus on the most important thing that you've identified, you will find your way to productivity with all the other things that you've planned for the day. So here's your homework. I want you to write down in your calendar right now what time of day are you going to do this planning time. I think the morning time, the first thing in the morning, typically will happen, I would guess, over coffee or, as you're sort of kind of already up and moving. The evening is going to be as close to the last thing you do before you go to bed, but maybe you like to read before you go to bed, or maybe you have some quiet time or some meditation or prayer time. Well, decide when the planning time is going to occur in relationship to what works for a perfect day. Then I want you to start doing this immediately. Honor this immediately. So if you're listening to this in the middle of a day, tonight, I want you to start planning your next day. And off we go. And then finally, let's quiet that little voice that's complaining about never getting to celebrate. I want you to put in your calendar 14 days out from now a purposed reward that you're going to use to celebrate having done the planning exercise, the bookend planning exercise, morning and evening for 14 days in a row. Now, what happens if you don't do 14? What happens if you forget? Well, then have a secondary reward that's not quite as fun or celebratory, but a reward nonetheless. If you develop a new habit, you need to acknowledge yourself for that terrific accomplishment. 14 days will be enough for you to get a great foothold here into a new and powerful habit in honoring our law, time, love, structure. And we're going to put to work a planning exercise as I've described. So can't wait to hear how that goes for you. Let's rock on to new achievement.